Okay, I want you to picture this. You're standing in a city, a silent city, carved right into the side of a cliff. We're deep in the canyons of the American Southwest, exploring the absolutely incredible and, yeah, kind of mysterious ruins of Mesa Verde. This place was once buzzing with life, home to a thriving culture, the Ancestral Puebloans. But then, in what seems like the blink of an eye, they just left.
And that is the huge mystery we're going to unpack today. See, this isn't your typical story of a civilization getting conquered or just collapsing overnight. Nope. This is about a group of people making a conscious choice, a deliberate, organized decision to just walk away from a world they had literally carved out of stone. So the big question is, how did they do it? And maybe even more importantly, why?
You know, to even begin to understand why they left, we first got to get a feel for the world they built. So let's start with these amazing but hauntingly empty cliff dwellings.
Just try to imagine it. We're talking about multi-story apartment complexes tucked perfectly into these massive cliffside alcoves. These aren't just simple ruins, they're total architectural marvels, engineered with some serious skill. And today, the only sound you'll hear is the wind whistling through the empty windows. It's chilling.
But of course, it wasn't always so quiet. This world was once just filled with life, with family, with ceremony. So, what was it actually like to live here? Let's dive in. Their whole relationship with the environment was just different. They didn't try to dominate the landscape, they integrated themselves right into it. They used sandstone blocks and mortar to build their homes right into the natural defenses and shelter of the canyon walls. It was this perfect harmony between nature and human cleverness.
And right at the heart of every single community, you'd find the kiva. These underground rooms were the spiritual core of their entire world. This is where the big decisions were made, where ceremonies were held, and where their prayers were carried on smoke up to the spirits. It was literally the center of everything.
And this just perfectly paints a picture of how vibrant these places were. For generations, these plazas would have been buzzing with activity. You would have heard the constant, rhythmic sound of women grinding corn, the chatter of artists painting these intricate designs on their famous pottery, and yeah, the laughter of kids scrambling up and down the ladders that connected their whole world. So here you have this stable, really sophisticated society that's perfectly adapted to its environment. What could possibly go wrong? Well, as it turns out, the answer came from right above them. The sky, the very source of their life, became their greatest enemy. And then it happened. The great drought took hold. The same sun that had once nurtured their sacred corn crops turned into this relentless, scorching force that just baked the earth and sucked the life right out of the canyons. Now let's stop and really think about what this number means. 20+ years. I mean, a child born at the beginning of this drought would be a full-grown adult by the time it ended, having never known a single year of plenty. That kind of thing erodes generational knowledge, it wears down hope. This wasn't just a bad harvest. This was a profound, world-altering crisis.
You can really see the stark contrast here. Everything that had made their life possible, the golden sun, the reliable springs, that sacred corn, was twisted into its complete opposite. The sky literally turned to brass, water became the rarest commodity, and the foundation of their entire diet just withered in the fields. Their whole world got turned upside down.
An environmental crisis like this almost always becomes a social crisis. It's just inevitable. As the corn failed and the springs dried up, competition started to replace cooperation. The communities that were once so open suddenly had to become more defensive. Their beautiful homes, they started to feel a lot more like fortresses. So they hit a breaking point. The land that had sustained them for centuries was, as their elders put it, sleeping. And this led them to make a decision that is, well, it's almost unimaginable to us today.
This quote, wow, it really gets right to the heart of their thinking, doesn't it? This wasn't a panicked escape from some enemy. It was a deeply spiritual and respectful decision. They weren't abandoning their home in anger. They were giving it time to heal, putting the health of the earth before their own comfort. And the result was just staggering. In the span of just a few decades, this entire region, home to thousands of people, was completely emptied. By the year 1300, all those echoes of daily life had faded away, leaving behind only silence. But here's where it gets so fascinating. Look at the clues they left behind. They didn't burn their homes. They left heavy, really valuable things, like their grinding stones.
They even left beautiful, perfectly intact pottery. It's such an eerie scene. It's almost like they just stepped out for a moment and were planning to come right back.
So this brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, and it tackles the biggest misconception out there. They walked away from their homes, but where did they go? Did they just vanish into thin air? Well, the answer to that is a definitive no.
And this is probably the most important takeaway of the whole story. There was no disappearance. It was a migration. The people of Mesa Verde traveled south, searching for new sources of water along rivers like the Rio Grande. They didn't vanish, they evolved, and their descendants are the Pueblo people living in Arizona and New Mexico right now.
Their story is not one of failure. Not at all. It's a story of incredible resilience. They faced an existential climate crisis. They made an impossibly difficult choice, and they endured. Their culture, their language, their traditions, they all live on.
And that leaves us with this final, really profound question. The story of Mesa Verde isn't just about a drought or some ancient mystery. It's a story about a people whose connection to the land was so deep, they chose to walk away from absolutely everything they had ever known simply to let the earth rest. It completely reframes our entire idea of what it means to call a place home.